grade 10. Not too bad in terms of travel, I took the license
Hello, hello. Okay. Hello, ladies. Hello, hello, hello. So just a quick one, like don't be afraid if you see someone else with something on the board that could be that could be similar to your own. Like literally remember you're all from different walks of life, you're all doing different things. So if oh sorry, can you hear me? You good? Sorry. Don't be afraid like if there's someone else who's got something similar to you or if it doesn't resonate, because again, you're all coming from different walks of life. This was just me selecting some images that I feel like could be quite powerful or impactful for your journey. So just be free flowing. Don't be afraid to get the pen out, draw something, color something else if the pictures don't resonate with you. But so far, looking around and they all look amazing. So I'm glad that you can find some inspiration from them and attempt to align it to your intention as well. So just bear that in mind as you're getting creative. Thank you.
I think like most of the things actually scheduling it in. Yeah. So like no one can block it out. Like this is like I mean I believe in 3 day days. Half a day, even a whole day, and the intention for the day is to stay under the duvet. Whether you want to read a book, watch a movie, but you put it in your calendar. If you're free, no, I'm not free after the appointment. Then oh my gosh. Yeah. And then you make it every day. When you finish your first calendar this month, diary in the one for next month. And also, to look forward to that's more achievable than the next holiday or the next girls' night out. It's for you. So I love that. I'm a big advocate for that. Absolutely, yeah. Yeah. I've actually heard about a month for local government. Yeah. Yeah. Sharing's caring. And it actually feels so good, that luxury of, and there's no guilt, I'm already planning for
Yeah, she wants to question. How many questions?
I'm really relaxing and creating is like colouring in. So my birthday 2 years ago, one of my friends gifted me like this beautiful pencil. So actually I'm like colouring book. How many pencils you use? And it's they're just like the movie. I really yeah. I first absolutely. I first did it once when I was pregnant and I was so overwhelmed that it became a way to relax. Yeah, that was the root. That's my real I learned that what I wanted to do initially allowed me to freedom. So I initially wanted to do play therapy, and then I got into my working career. I did a strengths finder assessment, found my natural strength, and then retrained to become a coach. Because my natural strength. I agree. Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's not the same. That's So and it's really based in the science of so I realised that too. Yeah. And they're give them this
I don't like. Let me return the exact job. The job has to be done. I'm complete. Let me actually see.
So basically, and you do like 30 minutes about your top 5 things, and it can just describe how you function. Galaxy Strength Finder. Yeah, so it's either a £20 version or a £60 version. Depends the depth you want to go. So Galaxy GALLQ. Yeah. Other things are really good, like Velvet, like how you function in a team. Velvet, another research.
Just to give you a more update, we have 10 minutes. So if you want to just start cutting out some pictures that you resonate with, because it would be nice to hear how far you've got in this process so far. But this is just a 10-minute little countdown. Thank you.
I mean, don't be sudden. That's it.
And then also, there's one actually.
Oh no, not yet. Is there an online version? Q&A?
accurate because I think that exactly. And then you take your life with the profile, and then of course you get everything else. I did a video once, so I know I have to do it. Yeah. And also I'm a computer administrator. I can't, it's hard for me to start having this
One more.
like wearing
Hi, ladies. So I'm gonna swap the slides. So do let me know if you would like this to be emailed out over to you, and I can send it over to one of the ladies so that they can send it through their comms so that you can continue this. And fingers crossed, when you're making new mood boards in the future, you can have this special formula. Next one. But whilst you're doing that, and like, how's everyone feeling about their current self-love and self-care practices? And is there anyone who would like to share what's come through them on their board? You've got a hand? Okay, let's go.
After doing this, or just in general? My self-care practice is simple things like getting a cleaner and learning to outsource, because being a mum and entrepreneur, all of these things, you can get overwhelmed quite easily. So getting a cleaner, I've outsourced it. Getting an editor, outsourced it. All the little things that you can, sometimes you're tight with your money, thinking sometimes you need to trade the money to save your time and value your hour. How much is your hour worth? And when you have the mentality that if I can make £200 an hour in your mind, we're not there yet, but if you can make £200 an hour in your mind, then you can trade and pay £15 to relieve that stress that you have. So that's what outsourcing is my error for this year.
Thank you. It's her error. um, is there anyone who would like to share some of their board over there? Okay. Okay.
Thank you. So when I turned 25, my body began to change, and it's been like a battle in a sense of trying to learn to love my body again. And it's a difficult one for me because I went on a huge weight loss journey. I was a size 18 before, and then I went down to a size 10. And then when I turned 25, my body started fighting me again. So I'm learning to love my body in all its states. And then I also have, she did her best and God did the rest. I'm a hard worker. I've worked hard most of my life in terms of career, school, everything. But I'm in that stage of my life now where I'm surrendering and just letting God do the rest. So it's not my hard work that will take me to the next level now. It's God's grace.
Thank you for sharing. That's amazing. Is there anyone else who would like to share their progress? Okay. Yeah, you can show them if you like to. I'll hold it for you if you want me to. Okay, I'll hold the mic for you if you want.
Oh, thank you. So what's this called again? Mood board. My mood board kind of takes me from where I am now, which is this side, to where I want to be. So I'm good at self-care in terms of shopping, facials, and just looking myself in the mirror and being happy and getting my nails done. But I'm not necessarily good at I haven't got the best relationship with food. I'm a 29-year-old woman, and sometimes I don't feel like my height and my body represents the fact that I'm a woman, I'm a mother. So I'm trying to learn how to be happy in my skin, as well as adopting a better relationship with food. I'm also trying to be more confident in my black skin, even when the media and people in the world are telling me that my black skin is a weapon. I'm also learning from my experience of domestic violence to learn what safety means to me and redefine that for myself internally and externally. And lastly, I'm learning about myself more and taking time for me and journaling.
Thank you. Thank you. Next one. So thank you so much, ladies. I hope that you've got the best out of this session, or at least start to think about self-care, self-love a little bit more. If you want to connect, my Instagram is Do It With D. And again, I'll get the presentation sent out over to you so you can continue with your self-love mood board. And yeah, just thank you for being present. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.
Round of applause for D, please. Thank you so much. I hope you guys take your mood boards home. I laminated mine because I wanted to look back in 4 years and remember if I've achieved half of it. So don't just see this as a quick exercise. If you have put time into it, try and get it home on the train safely and then laminate it somehow, or take a picture. Actually, that's probably a more cost-saving activity. All right, so our next session is back in our seats here. We have a segment panel discussion hosted by our wonderful guest speakers who aren't getting up. So I'm just going to say, let's all just rise, and I will see you all at the front. Thank you. Oh, I've got it. I just wanted her to get up. Can we all make our way to the front, please? Thank you, guys. Orange. Oh yeah, it's a whole look actually. Ladies at the back, are we able to join the seats so we can start the next session, please? Thank you, sir. I know, I can see you cutting and gluing really fast, but if you take a mental note and keep the pictures, you can do it at the end. Thank you so much. Oh, yeah.
So, thank you.
Okay, so there's been quite a lot of learnings today, quite a lot of things to take home. But I am someone that likes to always look on social media at the end of the day and remember all the wonderful moments that I forgot, but someone else's perspective caught it. So I'm going to ask for one thing today. You all know the hashtag. I was going to say TLC. Feedback, Hannah. TCL2. Hashtag TCL2. You've also got at Young Ladies Club. I'm actually going to ask you all to either take a selfie or take a picture of me or take a picture of Hannah, something to post with a quote or a lesson of learning from today, just so we can kind of look back at the thread ourselves and kind of remember what everyone learned. So if you can use this hashtag, which is TCL2, and at Young Ladies Club. It could be a quote from today. It could be the red flag as if he doesn't buy the wig, and you can hashtag Grace for that one. It can be any of the learnings that you got a free book, but let's create the conversation. This is also for people who don't even know about Young Ladies Club. This is going to help a lot of young women who either don't know or are in circles of people that could benefit from this support. So let's kind of encourage and do our part in contributing to this charity doing their amazing work. Is that okay? Fab. So the next session is actually hosted by our wonderful Paris Love. Can I get an applause, please? So this session is all about mental health and well-being. So Paris, I'm going to hand over to you, my dear.
Excellent. Thank you so much. So now we've come into the segment around mental health and well-being. My name's Paris. I go by Paris Love. Love actually stands for Live a Life of Value Every Day, which is how I live my life. I'm a accredited therapist and a trainee clinical psychologist, and I'm here with the esteemed panelists. I'll let them introduce themselves in a moment. We will have a Q&A towards the end, and I hope you enjoy. So, ladies.
No pressure. Firstly, I want to say thank you for the Young Lady Club, because I don't think we have spaces like this where you can eat, heal, network. So I think this is a really good thing that Young Lady Club is doing. So I want to thank them for this opportunity. And I like to say I'm a woman first, because sometimes we carry so much hats and labels. So I'm a woman who is a counsellor, a mother, and I work with women. I work with women who have gone through childhood abuse or adult abuse, and just helping them to be their best version of themselves. I have my own private practice as well as a relationship coach. And yeah, I'm just down for women just exceeding every area of their life, because we have so much that we can give, but we have to always remember to give to ourselves as well.
Amazing. Okay, so hi everyone. What a pleasure it is to be here today. I'm in a room full of amazing people, and even just sitting here today, my heart feels so full. Just being in a space where we can speak, we can have conversations, and once again, I'm really glad that this space actually exists, because community is important. Yeah. So for those of you who have not met me before, my name is Vanessa Boachi, and I am a qualified cognitive behavioral psychotherapist. I am also the director, founding director of the organization Inside Out Wellbeing. And I'm really, really proud to say that Inside Out Wellbeing is one of the leading providers of culturally informed wellbeing support in the UK. So thank you. Yeah. And I really pride myself in the work that we do, especially because we talk about mental health and well-being from a standpoint of identity. We believe that identity is a huge part of who we are. So how on earth are we having a conversation about mental health and well-being without talking about identity? So that shapes pretty much everything that we do. And I'm a strong believer in being able to educate about mental health and well-being, because that's something that is really powerful. So once again, I'm really, really, really happy to be here. Before I'm any of those titles, I'm a Ghana girl. Any Ghana girls in the house? Yes. And I'm also a East Londoner. So I was born and raised in Newham. So I've grown up around diversity. I've grown up around multicultural society. And that's the lens that I use to view the world. So thank you. Thank you for having me today.
Thank you. Thank you, ladies. So Vanessa, I'm going to kick off with the first question. So how can women identify toxic relationships, whether that be toxicity in intimate relationships, familial relationships, relationships with work, church members, or friends?
That's a big question. It's a big question. I think the first starting point, so this is something that I can relate to on a personal level, but also on a professional level. And I think the first starting point is knowing who you are. So, as an example, let's say if you had a glass of water and you was to drop some black dye into that glass of water, we will all be able to tell that that glass of water has been contaminated. You wouldn't drink it, right? Because you know that if you drink it, it's not going to fulfill the need that it needs to. So the reason why we're able to see that this glass of water is toxic is because we know what water should taste like. We know what water should look like. And that's the same way you need to know who you are. And that's where it starts. I believe that self-awareness is your superpower. And once you know thyself, nobody can take anything away from you. Once you know thyself, no one can tell you anything else. So it all starts from knowing who you are. In business, those of you here who are familiar with business or run a business or work in a business, there tends to be what we call a mission statement, right? And when we have that mission statement, we all know what we're abiding by. We know why we're here. We know what we're here for. But what do you think will happen if you had this mission statement for yourself? A lot of people may not have that vision and direction for their lives. And as they say, if you stand for nothing, you will fall for everything. So it starts with, again, knowing who you are so that you can identify when things don't feel right. And I also believe in that gut feeling as well. You know, the world tells us lots of things about who we are and who we should be. But even sometimes we know ourselves when we walk into a room, something doesn't feel right. We know ourselves when someone is saying something to us or behaving in a particular way towards us, it doesn't feel right. And so even just listening to yourself, how many people here actually sit down and say, today, I am going to listen to myself? We're always taking other people in, and it's great to do that. It's great to build community. At the end of the day, we're social beings, and that's something that is fundamental. But also cultivating that time to actually be with yourself and understand who you are. So back to the question around being able to identify toxicity, whether that's in relationships, whether that's in business, whether that's in personal relationships, romantic or business, etc. It all starts with just simply knowing who you are. Once you know who you are, you'll be able to actually see quite clearly that this thing is not right for me.
Yeah, wow, that was amazing. It sounds as though you've indicated that the relationship with self is the most important. And I wanted to move over to you, Davina, and actually focus a little bit more on relationships. So intimate relationships. So what are some red flags that we need to be aware of while we're dating? And how can women establish if they are in an unhealthy relationship?
Yeah. Very important question. But firstly, I want to say sometimes we don't see the red flag because we're seeing a green flag because the man looks good. And we have to understand that while looks are appealing, that is not what is going to make a relationship. So we cannot overlook a person's behavior because of how they look or how they make us feel in moments in a relationship. But I think some of the red flags is, how do they talk to you when you're going through a hard situation or when you need their emotional support? Do they show signs of jealousy? Are they controlling? Do they try to dictate what you can wear, who you should be around? Also, as well, I would say, do they have low self-esteem? What is their support network? Do they have people around them? Because you have to think about it. If a man is isolated and there's no one around them, 9 out of 10 times, they're going to want to isolate you because they're going to want you for their self. Also, check how they speak to people they feel they don't have no value for, i.e. when you go out with them, how they're talking to the waitress. These are very small things that we can make excuse for because they're all looking at, he's my type, he's my type. He's your type, but he may be trying to bring you down. So sometimes we have to check for the small things because it's so easy to see the big things that they do and we forget to really monitor the small little things. How's their relationship with their parents? All those things we have to look out for. And also, how do you feel when you're around them? Do you feel emotionally safe? What you would say, what does your gut say? Not what your eyes are saying, because your eyes will fool you. But what does your gut say? So yeah, I think those are some of the red flags that we can look out for. And I think, sorry, what the follow-up question?
No, that was a lot. It was really, really key. And I think what came out for me was you say the little things, but actually those are the everyday things that people do, like how they speak to waiters and their relationships with their friends or lack of relationships. The second part was how can women establish if they are in an unhealthy relationship?
Yeah, I think the first thing is to find out what your attachment style is. So you may have a secure attachment, you may have a preoccupied attachment, you may have a fearful attachment, you may have a secure attachment. Because depending on our attachment style, we can tend to overlook, self-sabotage, or make excuses for a person's behavior. So once you've now identify your attachment style, you can then self-evaluate the relationship, not the person. Because if you self-evaluate the person, you can be like, but he's this, but he's that. But if you self-evaluate the relationship, you're taking out their emotion and you're applying some logic, which would then enable you to identify some negative patterns of behavior. So is he controlling? Not when he's controlling, does he say sorry? No, let's keep it real. Is the man controlling? So we have to be very honest and transparent with ourselves and don't make excuses. And by knowing your attachment style, you're then able to say, actually, maybe I am making an excuse for him. Maybe I am self-sabotaging, but it still doesn't mean that it's a healthy relationship. So evaluate the relationship, not the person, I would say.
And I guess just kind of on that tone, what should a flourishing, healthy relationship look like?
Well, come off social media. Because you got people taking plane to Novikov. That ain't gonna happen. That ain't real. We have to be real that a relationship is made up of two different people that have two different experiences, that have two different morals and values. So it's about establishing, one, have I seen a healthy relationship that is realistic? Because sometimes I can talk from my personal experience. My dad wasn't present, but he brought in the money. And I was convinced that if I'm getting the man, they got to pay all the bills. That's a sign of a healthy relationship, but they weren't emotionally present. So I'm getting the money, I'm getting the stuff, but I ain't getting what I need to keep me long term. So that's the first thing. And then the second thing I would say is, what are your non-negotiables? What are your healthy non-negotiables? So when you're around that person, do you feel seen? Do you feel heard? Do you feel respected? Not is he buying me this? Then you interpret that as him being seen. No. Does he hear you? Does he listen to you? Are you able to have good conflict resolution? Do you have a good way of communicating? So I would say come off social media, because you need to understand that social media they've got the cameras, they've got how many takes, and they've got a capture. So that is not real. But what is real for you? What do you need as a woman in a relationship?
Thank you so much. So us on social media, particularly TikTok, we probably saw the case of Risa Tisa, and how she was essentially finessed from someone she married. On that same note, when a woman is maybe in a place of desperacy or loneliness, they may make decisions that don't always feel like the best or may lead to difficult outcomes. So Vanessa, this question's for you. I'm wondering, if someone's really in the need or the pursuit of love, how do they deal with the potential of rejection or having to remove themselves?
Yeah, I think that's again another really good question. When we look at rejection itself, rejection comes with a whole leap of emotions. Rejection doesn't feel nice. It doesn't feel good. It can make you feel sad. It can make you feel helpless. It can make you feel lonely. It can bring up all different types of emotions that you didn't even know existed. And I think it's always important to understand, what does this rejection that I'm experiencing right now, what does it actually mean for me? And what is it actually triggering in me? So if, for example, I asked for, let's say, a pair of jeans, and the person that I'm asking for the pair of jeans from said, no, Vanessa, you cannot have these pair of jeans. I might say, okay, that's fine. That's because this pair of jeans is not something that's meaningful to me. So it's okay if I don't have these pair of jeans. Whereas if this pair of jeans was something that had significant meaning for me, it might bring up a whole leap of emotions, because I'm really sad, I'm really gutted that I'm not getting this pair of jeans. So typically when we're looking at rejection itself, it might not even necessarily be the thing that you're being rejected from, that you're experiencing emotions to do with that thing. it might be that this rejection is actually triggering something that is already within you. So prime example, I guess in the relationship setting, I'll even use my personal experience as an example where I have personally felt rejected in a relationship. And as a result of that, I had to really think about, what does this mean for me? Why is it that I've been in bed for 2 weeks without eating? Why is it that I don't want to come out my house? What is it that this man has done to me that is making me feel like this, that I'm feeling physically sick to the extent where I'm crying, I want to vomit and all of these things? But when I looked deeper into it and when I did the inner work, although I am a therapist, of course, it's important for me to do my own work as well. When we worked through it, what I really, really understood from that experience, and when we explored it, what I really got from it was that it wasn't to do with this man. What it did trigger within me was abandonment that I experienced from my dad. And so the work wasn't to do with what happened with me and this man. It was more to do with how I felt being abandoned by my dad, not growing up with my dad. So that is the area where the actual true work needed to be done. So again, when we're tying it back to present day rejection, whether that is in relationships, whether that's in the business setting, whether that is with friendships, we want to get to the core of the issue. And one thing about myself as a therapist, when I'm working with someone on a one-to-one basis, we're going deep, we're going inner. I want to get to the core of the issue. The surface level stuff is okay, that's well and good, we can work on that too, but let's get to the meat of the situation. Let's really unpack things to understand where that wound is, because we're all walking around with wounds, and it might even just be something small that someone does that then opens up that wound again. And you might not even realize that, wow, like something small has happened and I feel so emotional about this situation. It may be something deeper within you that's being triggered. So I would say, taking that time to actually explore and understand, what is it that this rejection is triggering within me, and how can I actually do the work on that main thing?
Wow. So there's something about the experiences we have or we feel in the present being linked to the past, and actually doing the past work will allow that to feel slightly easier, or allow us to be able to deal with it. Davina, I've got a question for you. So when a woman has experienced a wound and trauma in a relationship, what are some of the work or like the personal development things she can go through to start to heal that, so it doesn't then bleed onto her next relationship?
Firstly, I want to say it's not your fault, because sometimes we hear that, but we don't digest that. It's not your fault. And sometimes people around us can say, just leave. Yet that same person may find it hard to leave their job. So imagine how much harder it would be to leave an abusive relationship where they're gaslighting you, where they're love bombing you, where they take you on a roller coaster of emotion. So that's the first thing. But I would say, when you do come to that point, because as a woman, we have a point where we crack. We have a point where we think enough is enough. That is the point where I would say, firstly, reach out to someone you can trust, because that is when abuse is escalated, is when they know they've lost control. So reach out to someone that you know is emotionally ready as well to take on the emotional roller coaster that may come with that back and forth that it may take for that woman to leave. But I would say, once you do leave, seek therapy. I ain't gonna say therapy is cheap, but it's worth it. I will say it's a gift that you constantly unravel throughout your life. So if you have to not do your nails, to get your mind right, trust me, it's worth it. Because if I knew what I knew now, that nail shop wouldn't have sold me for a little while. But then I would say, once you seek therapy, forgive yourself. And I know it's so easy to say forgive yourself, it's such a cliche word, but sometimes we have to say, you know what, and laugh to ourselves and say, you know what, I stayed a little bit longer, but you know what, I've done the best that I could do with what I knew at that time. So really spend time forgiving yourself. And I will also say, don't feel ashamed. Because no one walks into a relationship thinking this man's going to abuse me. No one, no one. So don't feel ashamed that you stayed. Like, honestly, do not, I can't emphasize how much, do not feel ashamed that you stayed. And also I would say sometimes you need to take time for yourself. Not isolation where you're shutting off the world, but sometimes you have to just sit down and take time to just reflect, reset, recharge, and speak to yourself. Then I also say, how are you speaking to yourself? Because I learned from my own personal experience that I was talking to myself how my abuser was talking to me. And I had to check myself. I had to be like, hold up, where is this tone? Where is this talk coming from? And I had to honestly rewire how I talk to myself, because you know what, when it's all said and done, I am a woman that is created to do such amazing things. But if I'm not telling myself that, I'm just gonna keep going back and forth and thinking, did I do the right thing? Did I make the right decision? And then I also say, as hard as it is, the no contact rule, as hard as it is, the no contact rule, sometimes you have to write the text and send it to our notes. Just write what we have to say and send it to our notes, because you know what, the moment you open that contact again is the moment they know that they have control again. So discipline, have an accountability partner. That would be like, you know what, girl, you're on day 10, you're getting there. So I would say those are some of the tips that I would recommend.
Thank you. So I think we've run out of time from the questions that I have. So I want to say thank you to you both. And we want to open it up to the audience. So are there any questions? Maybe just one or two.
Hello? Oh, it's on. Thank you, ladies, for sharing. I'm asking a question that's slightly off track, because I know today we've spoken a lot about romantic relationships, but my question is more around friendships. I feel like I'm the type of friend that gives. Like, I'm a good friend. And over the years, I've watched, like, when you're a giver, you just attract takers.
Yes.
So it would be good to give some advice around navigating friendships, and sometimes new people that insert themselves in your life, and you're like, oh, this person seems really, really good, but it's like within a really short time frame, and then something will happen, and you're like, okay, I just shouldn't have. So now I'm in a space where it's like, I don't feel like I need friends. I'm a twin. I've got loads of siblings, but it's nice to have good friends that reciprocate. So any advice that you can give? There might be some ladies here that are going through relationship drama that's not personal. It's not a romantic relationship, but more a friendship.
Yeah, okay. Sure. That is a really good question, and that's something that I can relate to as well. So I would consider myself to be a giver. And just like you highlighted, if you are a giver, it's most likely that you are going to attract people who take from you. I think one of the first things is about assessing your energy and knowing who those particular people are, who, when you're around, even just asking yourself that question, do I feel energized by this person, or do I feel depleted by this person when I interact with them? And sometimes it might take a direct approach, which can be quite challenging, to say to someone that you're close to that, okay, I need to put these boundaries in place for myself. For those of you who are able to do that, that's great. For those of us who find it a little bit more challenging to directly say that, these are the boundaries that I'm putting in for myself, it comes through the actions. So you might even know the boundaries yourself, but then how are you putting that in place? Because as you're putting that in place, the person will over time recognize that you have those boundaries. You don't even have to articulate them. Boundaries are things that don't even need to be articulated out loud. It comes through the way that you behave and the things that you do. So over time, if you are, for instance, maybe putting boundaries in place by saying no, that is completely okay. That is completely fine. And it's about you being okay with saying no. You can almost treat it a little bit like an experiment. As a cognitive behavioral therapist, one thing that I really do like is getting people from just talking about things to actually putting things in practice. And that comes through experimenting. Even when you don't even feel like it, telling yourself that, okay, do you know what? Today, I'm going to put those boundaries in place. I don't know what's going to happen. It's either going to go well or it might not go well, but that's okay. Let's do it and then let's learn from it. So once you know the type of boundaries that you're putting in place and you're actually acting out those boundaries, over time, the person should be able to recognize that this person is someone who maybe I access for particular things, and this person is someone who I don't access for certain things as well. So I think it's just having that confidence to put that in place. And the first time you do it is going to be scary because you're doing something new. It's just about putting that in place over time, practicing, and then over time it will be something that comes with ease. But I know it's challenging. It's just about giving yourself grace as you're doing it.
And I would also say have a reality check with yourself and actually stop and actually ask, what are these friends giving me? Am I getting anything in return? And I would say also ask yourself, what is it about that feeling of giving? What does that do for you?
Thank you so much, Davina and Vanessa. And thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Round of applause, please, for this amazing panel and host. Thank you, Paris. Thank you guys so much. I don't believe you guys gave your handles, but I will say they are on the Young Ladies Club Instagram. So please follow, go through the posts and follow. We have one final discussion before we go into a time of conversation with Hannah very briefly, and then a very small networking at the end. I would like to introduce Natalie from the Met Police, please, to come and join me over here. Thank you. Right.
Does this work?
It does. It
Yeah?
should work, yeah.
Unfortunately, no one else is joining me, so you've got just me.
That's not
And
a bad thing. We had a full session today about believing in our source. So this is enough for us,
Absolutely.
isn't it, guys? Fabulous. So who are you?
So, my name's Natalie Inglis, and I work for the Met. So, I work within a department called the London Race Action Plan, which is in professionalism, a part of culture, diversity, and inclusion. But I think, firstly, thank you so much for inviting me along and coming here to talk, and all the workshops that I've kind of participated in, and especially the self-care brainstorming session. I really was kind of like, I actually think I need to come here and represent myself. So a bit about talking about myself, obviously, very clearly, I'm a Black woman, 42, born and raised in Northwest London, got twins, 9-year-old twins. 100% see myself as a woman and a mother first. Just so happened to work for the Met. Worked for them for 17 years now. Yeah, I know I don't look old enough. Although one of my colleagues, Black guy, family from Jamaica, did call me auntie. I was like saying, what? I do not look like an auntie. There's no way. There's no way. Although I don't have a baby face anymore. It's catching up. But yeah, after doing that session, I was like in my head really thinking about like, who am I? What do I want? And I'm a giver. I went to a seminar recently where it was about empowerment for Black women, and it was basically talking about if you have an opportunity to be sat around the table, make sure you use your voice, and that is who I am. So all I can say is, you know, I come with my lived experience of growing up in London. My son is 9, but I know that he will be recognized and just seen as a young Black boy when he's walking down the street. So, you know, we've got a way to go, but progress is being made, and I feel reassured that there are more people like me within the organization who are pushing their voices to be heard, who are challenging the mindset to create a better, more inclusive culture. So that's a little bit about.
I like that. Thank you. And tell me a bit more about your role and the London Race Action Plan. So like what are the actual things that they do?
Yeah, so the London Race Action Plan, this is a London focus, but it comes from the National Police Chiefs, which is the Police Race Action Plan. So obviously we've had some really significant incidences happen with the George Floyd scenario, and the College of Policing wanted to look into what is the disproportionality that the Black community are affected by and how does that impact policing. So the London Race Action Plan has been introduced and it has 4 work stream areas. So the first area is called Represent, which is about making a workforce that's more can't even talk now, can't get my words out, making it more representative of Black heritage communities, having people within the organisation, not only in the organisation, but are those people developing and reaching senior levels and having that access to influence. Culture, you know, what does our training look like? What does cultural awareness look like for officers that are coming in, policing the communities which are very diverse within London? We then have respected. So this looks at things like actual use of force. You know, what does that look like? Is it disproportionate towards the Black community or not? Stop and search is covered within that. Taser use. So all data is being collected to determine how it represents different groups. We've then got involved, which is our engagement strand, and we are trying to give more access, scrutiny and governance to the Black community, coming in and talking with us with regards to the policies that are being decided. And then the last one is protected, so recognising violence against women and girls, recognising mental health, missing people, child first strategy, just making sure that public protection is in place so that we can protect communities that are vulnerable.
And just talking about violence against women and girls, what advice, I guess, would you give to any young woman who is thinking, I think I'm being abused? I maybe have listened to the live stream and I've come to realize that through the panelists, quite a lot of this is recognizable. What advice from, I guess, a professional perspective would you say in terms of getting some support from the police? What would you advise?
I would say if you have got that gut instinct that there's something wrong, then report it. You know, we have specialist teams and it may not be physical, it could be coercion, it could be, you know, financial abuse, it could be those behaviors that are kind of progressing and leading on. And we do so much work with charities and community partners, and it may be a case of at that point we're only going to record it and refer to other statutory partners, but always please do get in contact with us and make a report, because we've got detectives who specialize and understand all the different aspects of abuse and what is entailed within that. So yeah, reach out. And I appreciate some people wouldn't want to necessarily talk in great detail over the phone to a complete stranger. So, you know, we can make appointments. We won't come necessarily to your home address. It could be somewhere other than a police station. So we're trying to be much more aware of making it comfortable for people who are brave enough to come forward and report.
And I think one thing Sia, I think she's left now, but Sia mentioned that it was actually, was it Sia? That the police actually told her that what he had done, yes, it was Sia, that was a form of abuse. And I think, what is your take on the sort of knowledge we have within our community on what we actually class as abuse? Because I think that in itself is a wider conversation about recognizing that although culturally these communities might see it as a norm, it is a form of abuse.
I think that is a really hard question to answer. All I would say is that I myself, attending a session like today, I've learned so much. Obviously, I can just tell you as a Black woman, I think we put harder sort of, I just think we think we should suck it up. We think that we have to be brave. We don't necessarily, like, we all know the kind of strong Black woman stereotype, like we just get on with it. We're not allowed to show vulnerability. It isn't necessarily taken on board. So I just feel we have to be kind to ourselves for all the kind of amazing inputs that people have been giving earlier. But there's an amazing charity called Cassandra Centre in Croydon who specialise in supporting actually women who are Black and of Black heritage in domestic circumstances. So there is help out there. It's just kind of Googling, researching and seeing what those networks are. So we are working with those kind of people, but it's kind of like understanding what the barriers are so we can better provide that support.
And have you guys identified any of the kind of common barriers at the moment, or is it kind of case by case?
It's more in a case by case scenario, but what I would say is like now the officers have body worn video cameras. So sometimes just the behaviors of victims, like when asked questions about certain things, and there is legislation now where you can get a victimless prosecution, which means that some victims feel so fearful to actually prosecute against a known suspect that there's overwhelming evidence, and the body worn cameras really help to reiterate that in cases where you can physically see people are distressed and worried and concerned, and we are able to kind of push that. But we have lots of specialist teams now who are taking it seriously, and I would just always say having that strength. If initially you're too scared to go to the police, just someone mentioned it earlier, just talking, you know, what the support networks are, whether it is a friend, whether it's a doctor, whether it's a teacher, somebody you can trust in confidence, you know, talk to somebody, and it's that first step.
Thank you so much. Okay, it was a very snapshot conversation, wasn't it? A tea break, as one would say. Does anyone have any questions? Thank you. We have one at the front here.
Thank you. So you know how you're saying that, you know, people should call the police and things like that. How do you reinstall confidence or like trust in police in women who have called the police and been failed? So what I mean by that is I called the police 9 years ago and they took the perpetrator of my house, but then they bailed him. And because that's where he lived, he returned to the address. So for 6 years, I left my perpetrator, but they stalked me, harassed me, broke into my property. Council refused to move me, and the police kept saying they couldn't find him because he had no fixed abode, but yet he was allowed to live his life, travel, and all these things. So for 6 years, I had to find my own ways to keep myself and my child safe, going everywhere and doing all the reporting I was supposed to. We'd been to court, but yet I had to protect myself. So I know I'm not the only woman that can say that that was the experience. So how do women like me then come back to you guys and trust you when we feel failed by you?
Yeah, and I'm so sorry to hear that. Obviously, I can't like
Not you
comment
personally.
No, I don't take it personally. Honestly, I get it. Like this is really emotive stuff, and this is people's real lives. So I've had a conversation with you previously, which I won't say, about somebody's experience. So I get it. What I would say, you know, is that unfortunately, in some circumstances, you can't necessarily get a prosecution. There are other routes, which are kind of like restraining orders, non-molestation orders that you can go via civil court. But I think it's access to knowledge. And, you know, I know that some detectives are extremely busy. They're managing a big workload, but we really need to be able to signpost and refer people on to get that added protection, because like you say, sometimes it might be, and I know officers have done this where they've spoken to local authorities and they've been able to negotiate and get people moved to a different location. It is just, I want to say the Met is trying, you know, violence against women and girls is taken really seriously. We are using everything within law and policy to pursue these cases. And I don't want to say it to you as a victim, you know, the Crown Prosecution Service, they then decide what goes to court and what, like, you know, I don't want to pass the buck that there's so many layers within that. I just know you will be taken seriously. You know, if you want to make a formal complaint or, you know, try and proceed to get court action taken, we will guide you as best as possible. There's also charities like Victim Care, who are a national charity that support and work with victims of domestic violence and give them appropriate signposting of what's out there and available to them as well.
And any other questions? Dion? You have a question, Dion?
Let you know that we do have a domestic violence safety planning leaflet on our website. So if any of you need any further advice, you can check out our website and look at the leaflet.
Thank you. And thank you, Natalie. Round of applause for you to Natalie.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Okay, so the next session was actually just a vote of thanks from the CEO and founder, Hannah, who has just disappeared. All right, we're going to take a 5-minute break and then I will call you back in here to listen to Hannah give a vote of thanks. All right, see you in 5. Thanks, guys. Okay. Are we able to take our seats back, please? I know that was less than 5 minutes. I apologize. Ladies, can we take our seats again, please? Thank you. Whoa, the paint is really something. Okay. I'm just waiting for the signal. You good? Can I get a round of applause for the founder and CEO of the Young Ladies Club? Welcome, Hannah.
Thank you very much, Kay. How are you all doing? I've got about 5 minutes, so I'm going to blow. This is my time to shine. I'm joking. Yeah, thank you so much, everybody, for joining from the bottom of my heart. I started Young Ladies Club when I was a 20-something-year-old girl. I was so passionate, so vibrant. We've been doing loads of events for years across London, back to back. I don't know who are some of the foundational members. I can't see them here, but people that have, yeah, Tracy at the back has been coming for years. And the vision for Young Ladies Club was really to create a safe space for Black women like myself. I came from a single parent disadvantaged background. And my life has been tough. At the age of 8, I was in foster care. At the age of 16, I went through a series of spiritual abuse for about 7 years. At the age of 25, I was made homeless due to domestic abuse. So every single person that has spoken on this panel, I literally can relate to every single one of your stories. And I think that's the reason why there's something different about Young Ladies Club, because I've literally gone through what everybody has spoken about on the panel. So I have a lived experience. But despite the pain, shame, rejection, embarrassment, God has found a way for me to, build YLC and build up the next generation of Black and minoritized women and girls. So for those who want to know where the passion comes from, that is where it comes from. So it's only right for me to do a vote of thanks. First of all, I have to thank the YLC team. Parisha, she's watching online with her little one. I'm sure all of you speakers got communications from Parisha, sometimes at different hours of the night. So I'm so grateful to Parisha. I'm so grateful to Dion at the back in the white blazer. Literally, we were packing goodie bags like the night before for all of you. And we're still missing our Safety Planet leaflets, but we'll find a way to get it out to you. And all the team, Gladys, who put the questions together for all the speakers. Let me not forget anybody. Emilia, Priscilla, all of the YLC team, literally that work behind the scenes day and night to get things done. Veronica, and obviously everybody who assisted today, Tracy, Adiroju, Rebecca, Anastasia, thank you so much. Without you guys, none of this would have been possible. Special thanks to Leah as well for coming down and representing the Mopac team. Really grateful. And also to Natalie and Kalon from the Met Police. Thank you so much for coming down. I also want to thank all the speakers, Sia, Vanessa, Jenny, who spoke on the Overcoming and Abuse and Healing panel. Vanessa is still there. Make sure you get her book. She's so powerful. We've purchased multiple copies of her book to give out because, yeah, we've done a lot with Vanessa and we think that what she stands for is amazing. The Building Healthy Relationships and Confidence panel, Grace, Tony, Desti, very, very powerful. Tears were flowing. So I'm sure all of you guys gained so much from that panel as well. Deconstructive spiritual abuse has a very special place in my heart because I had gone through my own experience for 7 years. Didn't even know I was going through anything until I came out of it. So thank you so much to Omolade and Francesca for holding a light or spotlight in that area. I really, really appreciate that. And personal development workshop, Coach D, all the way from Birmingham. I'm telling you, Birmingham, the girls are really repping. Like we just had Paris come to do the goal setting workshop March 30th. I don't know who was there, but that was powerful. Thank you all for coming. And yeah, and just everybody. I think I've mentioned everyone, mental health and wellbeing panel, Vanessa and Davina and Paris as well. And then thanks to Mo Chunks for hosting the Healthy Relationships and Confidence panel. And I think I did say special thanks to Special K, the host. Did I? If I haven't said it, thank you so much. Come over, Special K. Thank you so much. Come over. Yes. For those who are filming or taking pictures, good. Yeah, definitely. I think it is not easy to host events. I think in my day job, I also speak and host and do a lot of workshop facilitation. And I know how scary it can be. So I know what that job entails. So thank you so much for holding that together. So I think that's it. And obviously, thank you to every single one of you guys that made it down on a Friday morning from 10 to almost 5 p.m. So yeah, and we're literally still on time. It's 3:34, so we still have like 20, 30 minutes. So good. So please enjoy the goodie bags. If any of you have any feedback, please fill out the feedback form in the middle of the Asiana Network and the Vanessa DY. Also, let me not forget Asiana as well, Asiana Network for coming down. I don't want to forget that either. Please also go over to their stand and have a look at all the stuff that they have there to help you stay safe from domestic abuse and violence. I think that is everybody. If I've forgotten anyone, Dee, please remind me because I don't like it when I forget giving the vote of thanks to anyone. But other than that, thank you all so much for coming to the Conversation Live Part 2. Look out for the Conversation Live Part 3. Please make sure you give us feedback. We need to improve our services and we want to know what you want. We want to know what we need to give you. And I think we may add an element of friendship abuse or family abuse. Something like someone mentioned something about friendship, and I thought that's true. Because you can have a friend that is toxic or a friend that's healthy. So you need to know what's there. So I think I am done. Yeah. So thank you all. And it's networking and connecting for like the next 30 minutes. Thank you. Yes, please fill out the feedback form. It's just in the middle of